Rafa just lost to Hurkacz in maybe his worst clay court performance of his whole career, but I'm drawing the positives from this. I'm going to tell you why. After the match, I was expecting a big ceremony off the court, a goodbye to Nadal. That didn't happen, not even an on-court interview, which I thought was very peculiar. And then in the press conference afterwards, Rafa said he is 98% sure that this was his last Rome. So there's a 2% chance that he's coming back next year. And I'm clinging to that 2% really hard because I don't want to see Rafa retire this year. I want him to keep going. Dominic Thiem, who's retiring this year, and Andy Murray, who's most likely retiring this year as well, they got a lot of criticism for continuing to play. People would tell them you're tarnishing your legacy. But for me, this doesn't make any sense. And I'm going to bring up the example of Michael Jordan when he came back and played for the Wizards. Me being a huge Michael Jordan fan, I loved watching him play even if it wasn't the real Michael Jordan. He wasn't at the same level that he was prior to coming back. And when it comes to Murray or Thiem, or more specifically Rafa, the fact that they're not at their absolute best doesn't matter for me because these are some of my favorite players and I like to see them play, even if they get destroyed. In my mind, there's a hope that, okay, these guys are such great competitors. Maybe they're going to try to figure it out, get better, and make a glorious comeback and start winning some big matches or maybe even some big titles. And you better believe that Nadal, who's one of the greatest competitors of all time, is trying to figure things out right now because he didn't do well today against Hurkacz. See, before the match, I thought that Nadal is going to have a great chance just because of the surface in Rome and the way Hubie plays. Even though he won the tournament in Estoril, clay is not his best surface. So I thought Nadal had a great chance to win this match. And the match started really well for Nadal. Hurkacz was serving and Nadal had several break points and was playing phenomenally well. Even the second game, Nadal was playing phenomenally well. But then something happened where Nadal's level went down and Hubie's level went up, and Nadal ended up losing the first set 6-1, but it was a tighter set than the score suggests because the set lasted 50 minutes. In the second set, Hurkacz continued to play really well, and Nadal got broken early and was trying to hang in there, but he didn't really have a chance to get a break of serve, and Hurkacz won that second set comfortably 6-3. So Nadal didn't do well today. Some of the problems that I've been observing this whole clay court season is his possible physical limitations. It looks like he's fit, but still there are some slower movements than what we're accustomed to. For example, when Nadal is defending on his backhand, yes, he hit some great backhands in Madrid. He can flatten that backhand out from defensive situations when he's set. But when he's playing more emergency type shots on the backhand side, he goes to that chop slice a lot where he just gets the ball back in play and has very small chances to win the point when that's the case. And when I look at his body, it just doesn't look right when he defends on that side. So there could be some possible limitations. Maybe it's a mental block, or maybe it's just father time knocking on the door. Nadal is a step slower. Also, Nadal's rally balls from the baseline appear to have less heaviness to them. Of course, Nadal is still ripping winners, hitting the ball hard, but his regular ball, the heavy topspin forehand, is less heavy than it used to be, and he's not putting players under as much pressure as he used to. Is this father time knocking on the door again, and Nadal is just a tad slower in his movements? We don't know. It could also be confidence. And most importantly, in the context of the Hurkacz match, was the fact that Nadal was serving poorly. He served extremely slow in Barcelona. He did ramp up the speed a little bit in Madrid. But not only is his serve slower than he used to be, he wasn't hitting the spots in today's match against Hurkacz. He was serving too central. He wasn't able to curve his slice out wide, especially on the ad side, and start the point on a positive note. He was losing a lot of points even when he made his first serve. At one moment in the match, he lost 50% of first serve points. So if you think of this logically, you're playing the best server in the world right now and you're not serving well, you're going to have very small chances to win the match. So even though I'm excited about Nadal playing at the French Open, this was a little bit of an eye-opener because Hurkacz was the first top 10 opponent Nadal faced, and it didn't go well. Now there is a step above Hurkacz as well, where you were talking about the top of the top Sinner, Alcaraz, Djokovic, Medvedev. It's hard to imagine right now that Nadal would have a chance against these guys, even at the French Open where it's best of 5 sets. And the tough thing for Nadal right now is that he can have a brutal draw where he could theoretically draw Alcaraz in the first round. But the one thing that we all know about Nadal is that he's the ultimate competitor. He's looking to get better. He's trying to figure out how he can beat somebody like Hurkacz. And I truly believe that if Nadal is healthy, he's going to try to keep going. He doesn't behave like somebody who's retiring. He wants to find his level. He's going to keep working hard, and I'm going to be right there with him, supporting him all the way. Now, one thing I don't want to see is Rafa in pain. So if there are physical problems where Rafa is continuing to play to finish his career with some of the most important tournaments for him, and he's doing this while in pain, then I want him to stop. This is something that I talked about with Jonas on the Tennis Nerd podcast. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend that you check out our talk. So I only want to see Rafa keep going if he's fit and if he's not in pain. And for what I'm hearing, it does appear that Nadal is doing better physically. And so for that reason, I'm pumped and excited of what's to come next.